for project discussion, I like to explain data transmission part. Data transmission part. Yeah. So after I update the description, I add Java Bean. I like to practice Java Bean features. Yeah. In my old description, I didn't mention Java Bean. Yeah. Because we just learned the Java Bean. So it's better we practice here. All right. So here I like to chat just a minute. Let me check the chat message. Oh, okay. The student asked open book test. Yes. Answer is open book, open notes. All right. Open book, open notes. All right. Yeah. Here, let me talk about. Yeah, because. Yeah. So for this midterm, I emphasize understanding. All right. Emphasize understanding. And many rules. I don't, because I feel it's hard for everyone memorize all the rules. We have learned a lot of technologies, rules, properties. You know, nobody can memorize all of them. All right. So I allow you to use textbook and the class notes. All right. Textbook and the class notes. Okay. Open book, open notes. Another thing, because another related issue, where you use class notes, do you use the paper version or electronic version, right? Because most students, they do not print out, right? They just re-study the notes on computers. Yeah. So here, I do not like to force you to print out the class notes. So I allow you to use computer to read the notes, okay? So you do not have to print out. You can use computers to access our class notes, all right? But I have one requirement. Since you can use computers in the test, I have one requirement. You cannot do online search. You cannot do online search, all right? Do not use search engine to find the answers. That's not allowed, all right? That's not allowed, okay? And another thing, do not send messages, all right? Yeah, so you cannot, send answers to other students, okay? You can use computers, but you cannot do sending messages and do online search. Those things you cannot do, okay? Yeah. That's the basic rules for this midterm, okay? All right. Let's get back to our project. The project, here, let me talk about use Java Beans to store data. All right, yeah. And display. All right, yeah. So we will do this part. All right. So let's recall our data. What is our data? Our data, we have a list of cities. And their tax rates. and their tax rates. That's our data, okay? Yeah. In my requirement for the list of cities, how do we store? We will use this data structure to store list of string to store the cities as this as first property. First property of the Java Bean, okay? All right. Tax rates, we use double array, yeah, tax rates. Double array as our second property. Java Bean property, okay? Yeah. One Java Bean, that is just the one Java Bean in one Java Bean, yeah. Okay, all right. So that's the structure we will use. But here, look at this list of arrow bracket string. This is the concept of Java generics. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with this concept. Here we use this Java generics concept. Okay, all right. So here, let me explain this concept a little bit. Okay, all right. I give you one example, Java Bean example. I hope you find the time to try it. That's that guest book, right? I show you in class, guest book example. All right. All right. In that guest book example, we use this Java generics feature. Okay. In that guest book, remember our data is stored in a Java Bean called a guest bean. Guest bean store the data. Okay. So the data basically first name, last name, email. 3 properties in that guest bean, Java Bean, okay? Then, because in our database, we have many guests. So there, we need to display a list of guest information, all right? How to display guest information in a list? So we use this Java generics. We use that list, arrow bracket, guest bean. Okay, here, let me explain. What's the meaning of list, arrow bracket, guest bean? Yeah. Java generics is used to help us reduce the runtime errors. Yeah. The purpose of this technique, reduce runtime errors. All right, yeah. Actually, the basic idea of this technology reduce runtime errors by converting them to compile time error. We know compile times error, very easy to find. Our compiler will tell us. All right, but how to do it? Yeah, because here, a list of objects, Java objects, a list of Java objects. When you store data as of specific type, here, guest being type, when you put in that object, yeah, here, let me write this. Yeah. How to create an object, list of guest being, how to create. Yeah. So here, let me write in this way. First, we declare list of guest being. We need a reference. Yeah. Let's call being list. All right. This is our list reference equals new. Yeah. We need to use some constructor to create it. All right. So what is the constructor? All right. This list is an interface. It is not a class. List is an interface. So there is no list constructor. Okay. So we have to use a concrete class that implements this interface to construct this object. So what is the concrete class? Here we use array list. All right, array list. This is a class, okay? But when you construct it, you need to specify guest being the type inside the arrow brackets. The reason is the compiler, when you specify the types inside arrow brackets, compiler will check the type for you automatically. Okay, compiler will do the checking. Okay, all right. So that's the constructor way. Okay, after that, then when you need to add a Java being into your list, you call its add method .add. All right, yeah. So the reference of your Java being, for example, yeah. And this reference must be of guest being type. All right, must be of guest being type. If not, the compiler would complain. Okay, yeah, because you tell the compiler you want this type of objects to be placed in this data structure, list data structure. Okay, and when you use list, you do not need to specify the size of this list. When you need to use array, you need to pass the size to the array, right? The size must be known, right? Otherwise, you cannot create an array without size, right? But this list, more convenient. You do not need to know the size. You just create it and use. When you add more and more objects into this data structure, the size would grow automatically. Okay? The size would grow automatically. You never need to change the size. Okay? So that's the reason people like to use this data structure. Okay, more convenient than array. Only when you have a good idea about the array size, then you use array. Otherwise, if array size is unknown, most likely you should use this data structure. Okay. All right. So let me just give you this background. Yeah. Yeah, because for deeper explanation, today I do not have that much time for, but later, when we work on our project, yeah, at some time, if I feel it's necessary, I will give you deeper explanation on this concept. Here, I just give you some basic explanation. Okay, all right. So let's complete this topic, the first topic. Okay. Then, next topic, we have many EL features. Now, today we will complete that. EL features. Okay. All right. So EL, implicit objects and the request parameters. Here you can see, here we learned this concept, EL implicit object. We have learned JSP implicit object. Remember, we have learned JSP implicit object, and there are nine JSP implicit objects. But here, EL, there are 11 EL implicit objects. There are two different sets of implicit objects. So do not get confused, okay? JSP implicit objects, EL implicit objects, two different sets of implicit objects. Yeah. C.1, EL implicit objects. So let me go through those 11 implicit objects. All right. First, we use several categories. The first one, access JSP scopes. Yeah. These 4 EL implicit objects allow us to access JSP scopes. There are 4 scopes, right? Page scope, request scope, session scope, and application scope. Their corresponding EL implicit objects are page, capital S scope. Yeah, just this name, okay? Page, scope, okay? Yeah. Similarly, if you want to access request scope through EL, you can use this implicit object, request scope. Just add scope word after those scope names. Session scope and application scope in the straightforward way. All right. Yeah. But later you will see when you access data from these 4 scopes, you do not have to use these implicit objects, because remember, when we use EL, we have automatic way to access data in those 4 scopes without using these 4 implicit objects. Okay, we just access directly, right? Yeah, we just access directly, and there is a preference order, right? Page has the highest priority order, precedence order. Yeah, highest precedence order. Then next request and a session, after at the end application. That precedence order. All right. Yeah. In that way, you just display the data in those 4 scopes based on those orders directly. All right. Yeah. But there is a possibility. There is a possibility. If you need to display the data, jump to some specific scopes. Yeah. Because if, for example, in these 2 scopes, they store the data attribute with the same name, okay? Same name. Same name, yeah. For an attribute. Okay, yeah. If you just use the attribute name to display by the precedence order, you will display the request scope version. But you may like to display the session scope version. You want to, skip that request scope. You want to jump to session scope. In that situation, yeah, you can use this implicit object to do that. Okay? So you can see there are some situations you may need to use these implicit objects, but the probability is pretty low. The situation is very special. Then you need to use these implicit objects. All right, yeah. So that's the first category. Yeah. Second, access parameters. Parameters, we have input parameters, HTTP query parameters, and the post parameters we may like to access, right? Yeah. How to access these parameters? We use these two implicit objects. Param, okay, EL param, PARAM. The first one, this implicit object. Param, okay, yeah. But this one, you can only access one value, single value parameter. But there is a possibility sometimes we may need to access multi-value parameter. All right, that is under one parameter name, there are several parameter values. Yeah, think about checkbox case. Okay, so you have, item 1, item 2, item 3, and our users may check multiple checkboxes. In that situation, you put multiple parameter values under single parameter name. Yeah. The parameter for this list of group of checkboxes under one parameter name. In that case, in order to access all checked values, you need to use this second param capital V values, this implicit object. The second one, you access all the parameter values in an array. Yeah. So the multiple values are stored in an array. Later, I will show you example. In this slide, we do not have any example. Yeah, but next a few slides, we will see more examples. All right. So that's the second category. Third one, access headers. Sometimes we may like to access header information in our JSP. Yeah, so we can have these two implicit objects. First one, header, just header. This one allows us to access single value header, single value. Yeah, similar to that parameter case, single value parameter, single value header. Most of the headers are single value headers, but there is only one header that's a multi-value headers. Okay, header values. If you need to access multi-value headers, that's for the language headers. Language header. Okay, so that is for this web page, how many languages it supports, right? Yeah, so that page that could support multiple languages, not just the one language. That page can specify, multiple languages to be supported. Yeah. In that case, the header for that part, multiple values for that language header. Okay. Yeah. So then you may need to use the second version for header implicit object. Yeah. All right. So that's these three categories. 3 plus 2 plus 2. Oh, yeah, 8, right? Yeah. Then others remaining, there are 3 more others. Cookie implicit object. So sometimes you may like to access information stored in cookie. All right, you use this implicit object through EL. Yeah. Another one, init param, initial parameter. You may like to access initial parameters set for JSP. Yeah. Here, because when you use EL, you are in a JSP, right? You are in some JSP. And we can set initial parameters for JSP. In that situation, you can use this implicit object to access those. But it's rare. Yeah, you will see that this feature is rarely used. Okay, yeah, you just know there is this capability. Yeah. If you need it, you can do it. Yeah. Then the last one, page context. Here you can see in our JSP implicit object, we also have a page context with the same name. EL, there is also an implicit object, page context. Okay, yeah. So this is the only one implicit object that has the same name in 2 places. JSP set of implicit objects and EL set of implicit object. Yeah, the only one has, although the same name, but they are different objects. Okay, yeah, same name, yeah, because different object types, yeah, different category. Okay, yeah. All right, so that's the EL implicit objects. So do not get confused. So when you use, do not get confused with the JSP implicit objects. All right. C.2, request parameters in EL. So this time, let's take a look. If we like to access request the parameters. All right. The fast, easiest way through EL, yeah, pretty obvious, yeah, pretty straightforward. Yeah. So let's take a look. Okay. All right. Access request parameters in EL. When you know you have only one, yeah, because there are 2 versions, right? Single version implicit object for request parameters and the multi-value version. So first, you need to make sure the value you want to access, that's the single version. All right. So then you use the param implicit object. Okay. Yeah. You can only get one value of it. All right. Example. Using EL example. All right. Dollar, curly braces, then param dot name. You should know its name, right? You should know its name. Yeah. Okay. All right. So you can use this way. That's a pretty fast access. All right. Yeah. Here, a related question. Can the parameter name contain a space character? Yeah, we talked about that last time. space. Yeah. The parameter name. Is it possible to have a space character, right? Yeah. For this dot operator version, then this EL expression does not support the space case. Yeah. So this is the space case. Yeah. In order to support the space case, you need to use the bracket operator version, like this, param, bracket, all right, double quotes name. Then, if this name contains space, that's legal, no problem. You include inside a pair of double quotes, so the space is allowed. All right, so that's special situation you need to be aware of. Although for most people, we never put a space inside a parameter name, right? First name, last name, why you put a space character into it, right? Yeah, most of the time people do not put a space in their parameter names, so the first version should be fine. Okay, yeah. But in case, yeah, some people, you know, for some special reason, they put a space in the parameter name, then you have to use the second version, yeah, to, you know, support it. Otherwise, your code would break. Otherwise, if you use the first version, your code would break. Okay, all right. So that's one thing. Second, when you might have more than one parameter values for a given parameter name, that's the checkbox case. Look at that, checkbox. Yeah, so you have some chance to use that multi-value parameter case, checkbox case. Then this time you need to use param values implicit object to access. Okay, yeah. Here the way to access dollar curly braces dot full. So here the parameter name is a full. Then you access through array format with indices 0, 1, 2, and so on. Okay, 0, 1, 2, and so on. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you may have question. How many, right? How many values do you have in this array? You may like to know that, right? Yes, yeah. So that kind of thing you need to figure out. Yeah. So this implicit object allows you to access that array, yeah, but you need to deal with the number of elements in that array, that situation. Okay, yeah. Array size. The number of elements in the array. Okay, yeah, all right. Then there is a related question, yeah, because single value, multi-value, the question is it possible we use multi-value way to access single value parameter, right? Yeah, yes, you can. Yeah, in that way, if you use this, you know, param values, yeah, let us look at the, you know, that name case, right? Yeah, name, the previous name case. Then, because you only have single value, so you can use this way to access that one. Although it is not as simple as the single value version, but it is legal. Yeah. Here I wrote this way. That is legal. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay, so that's this feature. Yeah. Oh, Yeah, because this EL way, you can access parameters in a very fast, simple way. What you think about, if you use non-EL JSP, how to access a parameter? Think about that. Non-EL JSP, you need to use scriptlet, right? Inside scriptlet, you need to retrieve. Yeah. So here, let us use a JSP way. JSP way, scriptlet way. All right. Yeah. Inside JSP scriptlet. Okay. How to access a parameter. Right? Yeah. Look at that. Okay. First, you need to have declare a string variable, right? Okay. The string variable, my name, for example. Reference my name equals, okay, request implicit object dot get parameter method. Okay. Yeah. Then you call that name, parameter name. Okay. Yeah. Then you display. Okay. In this way, you retrieve. So this is a retrieve step. After that, you display it. All right. How to display? Use another implicit object, out implicit object dot println my name. So here I show you the equivalent way to do the same thing using JSP, non-EL JSP. Yeah, EL also, EL mainly used inside JSP, right? Yeah. But here we use the non-EL way JSP code. Yeah. So you need to write those, at least those 2 lines. Okay, at least those 2 lines. All right. And another thing I didn't mention here, check if my name is null, right? Yeah, because you may need to check if that my name variable, my name is null. Okay, yeah. Otherwise, if it is null, when you print it out, you see that null expression. That's not good, right? That's not friendly to your users. Your users see that null value. That is not friendly. Okay. So you can see, other than these 2 lines, you need to consider null value case. Then our EL, we do not need to consider null value. Okay. When you have a null value, it does not complain. It just displays nothing. Yeah, nothing. No error message, no complaint. Null means nothing. All right. In EL, null means nothing. Okay. Yeah. So that make your page display normal. All right. Yeah. So that's another important difference for EL. All right. So let's go to the next topic. C.3, handle null value. Yeah, here, let us look at that null value in EL. Okay. Yeah. So there are some simple rules. There are some simple rules for null value. Okay. Yeah. EL is null friendly. It is designed to make the null case more friendly to our programmers. So you do not need to write special code for the null case. Okay. Yeah. So that is another advantage of EL. Okay. It handles unknown or null value so that the page still displays without complaint. Okay, yeah, here. When null value occurs, EL does not complain. Okay, yeah. Null value, it interprets in a special way. Okay, so the behavior, it's not complaint behavior. Okay, yeah. Even if it can't find an attribute, property, key with a name in the expression. Yeah. Here, this line, yeah, this line will actually, later we will have quite some discussion regarding this one. Yeah. So it says in this way, but we will have another situation that EL would complain. EL would complain for another situation. But it is pretty hard to separate that situation with this situation. It's very hard. So later I may need to use some examples. So we try to understand this part. Yeah. This part relatively hard to understand. Okay. Yeah. So later at some time, I will use some concrete examples. So we try to understand under what situation EL does not complain, under what situation EL does complain. Okay, yeah, there is some situation EL complains. Yeah. All right. Interpreting null values. Yeah. Then based on the data type. Yeah, because when you use the null value, you may have various situations. Yeah, so let's look at the first in the arithmetic case. EL treats null value as 0. Yeah. You may do some math, right? Math operation. Then one of the operands happen to be null. That's possible, right? Yeah. When you do math arithmetic operations, one of the operands happens to be null. In that situation, if you use EL to do that operation, you just replace null by 0. Still, the operation works fine without complaint, and you will see most of the time the logic is fine, right? Null is equivalent to 0. The logic is fine, but some special situation, the logic may not be right. You need to fix it. Yeah. You need to consider the situation when the logic is not right. If null is replaced by 0, you need to fix it manually. Okay, you need to find a way to fix it. Yeah. In logical expressions, EL treats the null value as false. When you have a logical operation, okay, yeah, you know, one of the operands happens to have the null value, then the rule here, interpretation, false value is used for null, false value. Okay, then you need to really check your logic. If null value is replaced by false, do you really like that replacement? Is that replacement correct or not? Okay, based on your business situation. Yeah. Here the rule is set in this way. Yeah. The rule is set in this way. It may not be perfect all the time. So you need to pay attention to the special situation. The rule may not be right. The way it is set in this way, like this, may not be right. All right, so that's your responsibility to fix it. Yeah, that's the rule. Yeah, but this rule, the reason that these rules are designed, cover the most frequently happened cases. Yeah, yeah, but not all. Well, you know, yeah, the most part, but not all. Yeah. All right. When does it complain? Yes. Then this question is hard to answer. When does EL complain? This question very hard to answer. Yeah, yeah. But it's not never complain. Yeah. I have a situation. It complains. It complains. Okay. Yeah. So I try to find that example to show you there is one special case, it complains. So we need to pay attention to those cases. Okay. All right. Yeah, but here I cannot show you those cases to be complained. Yeah. All right. C.4. Typical ways to use L expressions. Okay. All right. Within simple literal text in a JSP. Last time I mentioned, right? Yeah, the typical way when we use EL to display data in a JSP, we use them in HTML environment, right? Not Java environment. Remember the last time, not Java environment. It should be in EL environment. Yeah, here you will see. Literal text, simple literal text, that's the HTML environment, right? Yeah. All right, so here you can see the example. Yeah, simple example like this. Yeah, literal text. Yeah, the user will see the normal text. Then we want to insert a piece of dynamic value. Okay, here we just insert a piece of dynamic data using EL, so convenient, right? Dollar, curly braces, your EL expression, 1, yeah, in this example, yeah. Then that value will be displayed in that position. How convenient it is, right? Yeah. You don't need to write Java code in that location, right? Think about that, okay? Read the data, checking the null value case, then display it. You don't need to do those things, right? The EL, you can do in this kind of convenient way. How good it is. Okay, yeah. So that's the typical way to use EL in JSP, okay, for dynamic data display. Yeah. All right. No need to get into the Java environment. Yeah, yeah. You stay in the same HTML environment. Okay, yeah. All right. Within standard HTML tag attribute, yeah. In HTML, you may need to use dynamic value in tag attributes. Another special place, you can use EL. Okay, yeah, here. Look at this example. Yeah. Input, yeah, here, the type text, the value, dynamic value. Dynamic value. You can use EL in that situation. Okay? Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. Within JavaScript code, yeah. In your JavaScript function, you may need to have some initial values, right? You can use EL to assign special values to your Java variables. Yeah. So let's look at this example. Okay. Yeah. Look at this example. Okay. So this is a JavaScript environment. JavaScript environment. All right. We have two variables. The first variable, employee name JavaScript variable, we assign it a string value using EL. Okay. Yeah. We retrieve that string value from EL. All right. Similarly, numeric value, we retrieve another numerical value from also EL, all right? The string value after you retrieve, you need to put a pair of quotes, single quotes, double quotes, a pair of quotes around it. Numerical value, no quotes, okay? Numerical value, no quotes. For your JavaScript environment. Another example, within CSS code, you can also use EL CSS code. Yeah. Here. Look at this example. Yeah. The color, what is the color you want to use? The color value could come from an EL expression. All right? Yeah. So in this way, you can see you have more power, right? When you need to set dynamic values in all these different places, you know, through EL, it is much easier, more efficient, and you can do it in a fast way. All right, yeah, so that's the typical ways. Yeah, that means these cases should cover 90-something% of the usage of EL. This slide, okay, this slide covers, these 4 cases. That should be enough for 90-something% of the time. Okay, yeah. The remaining cases, just small percentage. All right. The last thing, how the EL evaluator resolves variable. Yeah, we only have 5 minutes. We have our last slide of today. We want to look at this question. How the EL evaluator, right? Before we have another name, we call it EL engine, EL evaluator. Yeah, we just understand them the same thing. Yeah. Just some processing tool, some EL processing tool. Yeah. So you can call EL evaluator or EL engine. Okay, all right. Resolves the variables. Yeah, so let's look at this. Using the following procedure. Yeah, this procedure. First, check if the variable is one of the 11 implicit variables. Yeah. EL, we have 11 implicit objects. Okay. Yeah. So when you put a name there, first, the preference, the precedence, first checking those 11 implicit objects. After that, if the variable is not one of the 11 implicit variables, yeah, here, remember, implicit variables the same as implicit objects, okay? Same concepts, yeah. Just implicit objects, the old name, implicit variables, later, some people, some authors, they feel, better, yeah, all right. Look for an attribute in the page scope. Yeah, we know page scope has the highest priority, right? Yeah, so go to the page scope and look at if there is an attribute with that name, okay? Yeah. If not, then look at the request scope. Is there an attribute in the request scope with that name, right? In your EL expression. After that, look at the session attribute, okay? After that, look at application attribute. All right, yeah. So here, look at this. If it finds no implicit variable or attribute matching the variable, it raises an error. This is the complaint case, right? It raises the error, means that in this EL complaints, but think about when we talk about when there is a null value, Yeah, here we need to, because no value, there is no complaint, right? Yeah. So you need to distinguish between these two cases. Here, when you refer to some name, but that name does not exist, raises an error. So that tells us we need to really separate these cases. On the what situation it complains, on the what situation it does not complain. Think about that. All right. Yeah. So we will look at this because this question pretty hard to answer. So I will delay it. Okay. After our midterm exam, then we will try to look at the answer of this question. Okay. Yeah. All right. So let me stop. So at this point, we complete the whole EL topic. Yeah. We use 3 lectures. Yeah. 3 lectures to cover this EL. Yeah. In our part D next time, I will talk about JSTL technology. All right, so that's it. So